Folks, welcome back to Positive Mischief. Today we have a very cool guest, Bram Weinstein. He is the play-by-play voice of the Commanders.
Sure.
So we'll call it?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Voice of the Commanders here in the D.C. area. Bram, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
me. Very fun. He also has a production company of his own that we're going to get into and talk about because I find that very interesting as someone who's in front of the camera, but also doing stuff behind the camera.
Yeah.
And as we talk about creativity here, we'll unpack that a little bit too. So that'll be fun. Coming out of the gate, first question that we like to ask all of our guests is, how would you describe your job to a child?
So which one? The play-by-play voice one?
Well, pick one.
Because there's a couple.
Pick one.
I would describe myself from the production and business building part as an entrepreneur, and maybe not use that word, but say, I've wanted to take my experience and use it to build something. As far as being the play-by-play voice, I think the best way to put it is I'm living out a dream. So to find a passion of yours and follow it, because those things can happen. I never played football, but I loved the sport as a kid. I knew what I wanted to do. I'm from this area, which makes it even particularly more special. I went to their games as a kid. I listened to the broadcasters. I know all of them. I know all their nuances, and now I'm following in their footsteps. So there is a part of just saying you can realize your dreams. And now that I'm in it, what I would tell somebody who's young is that getting there isn't really the end game. It's excelling at it. And that's what's important to me now. Like, I don't want to just be the voice of the team. I want to be recognized as one of the best voices in the NFL.
Yeah. So what's that like, though, as you, in a way, you measure yourself against other voices, past and present?
Yeah.
What's that like? Is it do a number on you at like 2 a.m? You're like, oh, man, that guy, I really liked what he said or how he said it. Like,
Yeah, of course. Like, last year, I'll give you an example. So the Commanders had a Hail Mary, right, last year, and it was first time ever in the history of the franchise. And we just kind of had an out-of-body experience when we called it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call it professional, but I would call it really, I felt actually that it was exactly how everybody was feeling when it happened. So I felt like in that way, we related to our fan base, and so I'm okay if everyone's like, that dude's just screaming his head off and might jump out of the booth,
but
and
those
that's
are
fine.
Fun.
Right.
As a viewer, I think those are fun.
It was fun. So a few weeks later, they had a second miraculous thing.
It was a
happen.
crazy year,
Crazy end to a game against the Cowboys, of all teams. And they scored a touchdown, an almost impossible touchdown that would have sent it to overtime if they didn't miss an extra point. The details don't really matter.
Right.
But our call was, I think I said, another miracle in Landover. And the play-by-play voice for Fox that day was Joe Davis, who I think does a great job. And he said, lightning strikes twice. And I heard that, and I went, that's better. So there's like plenty of moments, where I think we hit the right note, and then you'll hear guys who do it, and you go, wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
And so, it's not a competition against them, but it's an appreciation when you hear something that you think is really good. And you hope that next time you do the one that people that go, wow, that was really good. Yeah.
So when we talk about creativity, do you have those moments where you're maybe like sitting and you're writing something like, if this happens, like maybe like
not
like a sheet of like zingers that you're like, this is a good one?
No.
Okay.
Like in this particular case, when they beat the Chargers and they scored a touchdown at the end of the game that really sealed it, I wish I had said lights out right at the end of it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I just called it, and I was thinking about it later, and these are the moments where you go, should I have these kind of set up? And I don't really do that. Like, I feel like I'd rather it just be natural. I don't want it to sound canned. I think that can come off as corny.
Yeah.
But there are moments, because these calls are used in perpetuity. So there are moments that I think are important to think through. What would you say when this happens? If we win the Super Bowl, if we make it to the Super Bowl, if somebody breaks a particular record, these are the moments that I think, like, I want to think through and say, to mark it down, because they are, for our sport, historic moments.
Absolutely.
So you want to get those right, and you want to be, but I don't like doing canned lines or plays on words. I felt the same way when I went to SportsCenter, actually, years ago. Everybody said, what's your catchphrase going to be? Because at the time, that was a really popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't have one and I don't intend to. And if one happens organically, I'll start using it. But I feel like that comes off as inauthentic.
Yeah.
And more than anything, with what I do for a living, I feel like authenticity is everything. And now in a digital age, it literally, I think, is everything.
Yeah, because people will not follow or pay attention if they don't feel that you're just being yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way.
Yeah.
Like it just is there.
Yeah. I mean, I think like when they put a camera in our booth last year and we kept winning every game at the buzzer, right? So we went viral a million times because we were like the crazy finish every week. And we won every week, and our calls went up every week. And so, and I watch them, and sometimes they're like, I don't remember even acting that way.
Sure.
But I think I'm okay with that. Like, what it comes down to for me is, did I prepare in a way to let myself go? Mm-hmm. And I think if you can just then be your authentic self with the basis of knowledge that you're going to get it right, like what's going to come out of your mouth is probably going to be right.
Yeah.
But then you can emote authentically. That you I live with that. And so that's what I'm most proud of most of the time. Like sometimes I watch myself and I look like I'm a 5-year-old, or even after the Hail Mary, my partner is London Fletcher. He's one of the all-time greatest linebackers.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
He nearly pushed me out of the booth. Okay. But I was so proud of that. Like we both were in the moment the way we should be. It wasn't canned. It wasn't scripted. Yeah.
I love that.
We were, I think, in touch with our fan base.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people relate to us, or at least I hope that's why they relate to us. That like that's what I want. Like I don't want you to sit there and think I'm the most, I'm the wordsmith who's like pinpoint. I'm not the Seinfeld of where each word is really important to me. No, what I want you to feel like is I'm there with you, and I'm telling our story and emoting our story in a way that's natural and the way that you're probably feeling. So like when I watch the Hail Mary thing, like that's not going in a broadcasting hall of fame. But the thousands of videos of people who posted online somewhere of how they reacted to the Hail Mary was the exact same. And that's why I knew we got it right.
Exactly. Yeah. So as you're doing things like SportsCenter or getting ready for this when you're younger, what's it like to train for or prep yourself to talk all the time? Because that's not an easy thing to do. I think people are...
You're right.
I screw up on my words when I'm having conversations with my family who I'm very comfortable with.
Yeah.
So the idea of being in front of a camera where your job is to just talk and to be smooth with it, to be consistent with it, to not mess up with it. Like, what's that is there a thing that goes in your head like, okay, I know I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. I practice like this. Mm-hmm. What's that like as you're prepping for that kind of a career? Because you said you want us to do that. All
these things are different, right? All these skill sets are very different. I would say I didn't have a lot of play-by-play experience when I got the Commanders job. I had a lot of, experience working with the team, knowing the team, but it's a very different skill set than hosting a show, writing. I watch people who write for, I don't even newspapers are a thing anymore, but however they write, like I can't write like that, but I can speak in a different way. And that's what makes me good at what I do. It's a communication pattern. And I used to work with someone, we had a consulting company, we worked with broadcasters, and it's interesting you asked this question because we teach people effective communication, that there is a pattern to think about how you want to speak. And it's not just for, being on TV or hosting a podcast. It's life. Like it'll get you out of parking tickets. It will avoid confrontations at times. If you can effectively speak in a manner that's cogent and understandable, that can help you communicate how you want to communicate. And that's all it really is effective communication. And then everything else in and around it comes down to, are you talking about things that people want to hear about? And you have to kind of, if you want to be a presenter or you want to be, a host or an entertainer, you do have to lean into those things. They can be niche and they can be widespread, but like, go watch Stephen A. Smith. His popularity isn't just because he's a great communicator. It's because they touch on the topics that he knows people want to hear about.
Yes.
So all of those things kind of come together at one time.
That's really interesting. When we talked about, you mentioned SportsCenter and catchphrases. This is something I wanted to ask you beforehand. You said you didn't want to have one, but did you have one that naturally came up?
No, not really.
No, nothing really stuck for you, or nothing like like the group of people online who are like, we like that Bram guy, and it's like, you should use this one again. Like at some point, and this is what I think is probably a little bit weird, as a Sports Center anchor, like people know you.
Yeah.
And there's commercials about what you guys do and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if there's this, is this itch to like, okay, I really should land on one, or should maybe find one,
Sometimes.
or something that like sticks with you. Like, what's that process like for as you're thinking through it creatively, because creativity is part of what makes those things stick.
So like as the play-by-play voice, I did have to come up with a touchdown call.
What is
so
that?
I did think about that.
Okay, yeah.
and planned what I was going to do. I thought a long time about it. And at the time, I'll go back to ESPN and I'll answer your question about that. But like, it's the only time I've ever done anything like that, where I thought about what am I going to say in these moments, and I wanted to have a touchdown call. Most play-by-play people do, especially if you're a home team one, maybe not for television where you're supposed to kind of be down the middle if you can.
Yeah.
But in my case, we're allowed to be biased, and I prefer it that way, right? So I had to think long and hard about this. Like, what is it going to be? And at the time, they had just changed the name from Redskins to Washington Football Team. So we don't have a mascot name, which, made it easy. Washington's got to be in it.
Yeah.
Right. So how are we going to get there? And then, I later date, I had to think about when they became the Commanders, am I going to change it? But at the time, I had to think of something. And so I loved the voice that I listened to growing up. His name was Frank Herzog, who called the games forever with Sonny Jurgensen and Sam Huff, two Hall of Famers. And his touchdown call was touchdown Washington Redskins, right? So I thought about how can I honor that legacy? So I wanted something with the same cadence.
Okay.
So I think it's the same number of syllables. Yeah, it is. Touchdown Washington.
Okay.
And that's why I landed on it, and it stuck, and people seem to like it. When the name Commanders showed up, I had to think about, am I going to change it?
Right.
And I ended up not.
Okay.
One, who knows?
That's a very fair point, yeah.
Two, I liked it, and people liked it, and so no one was clamoring me to change it. Nobody from the team told me to change it.
Yeah.
So I kept it. But when I was at ESPN, I felt like if I walk in the door and try to force some line, they're going to be like, he's trying to copy Stuart Scott, or trying to copy Dan Patrick, or trying to copy all these great people who worked, on air. And I just didn't want to do that. So I felt like if something organically actually happened, I'd probably keep it. But that never really happened for me. And I always felt like if you prepare really well, you just let it fly, and then you're yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're yourself on the air, people will either like you or not like you.
Agreed.
And then, but at least you can live with that. Like, you didn't force you're going to like me because I said this.
Right.
I'm just going to be myself, and we'll find out if I'm a good enough personality to warrant being a special there.
I think that's it. It's personality and authenticity comes through.
Yes.
I don't think, and I don't know any of the backstories for either of those two guys you mentioned, but they seemed authentic. Yeah. In both of their, the Whiff and, Booyah, and any of the other ones that Scott had, but they seemed authentic to the moment.
Some people are really good at putting on an act. Like Dick Vitale's amazing at putting on an act.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of authentic to him, but it's really funny. Like, if you hear him off the air, it's not like he's walking around screaming, "Hey, baby," to everybody.
Right.
Like, it's like he's not that way. Stephen A. Smith is kind of authentically himself. Like, maybe it's an exaggerated version of it, but that's really him. Like, if you talk to him, some of the other things, like, it's contrived, but some of them pull it off. It's they're performing.
Right.
And some people are really good performers. I never saw myself as someone who could be a scripted performer in this. So, if I tried a different art form, like acting or comedy or something like that, then I probably would try to do a scripted format. But I don't feel like that's what this is to me. But it can be different to others. And they're like, Chris Berman is a perfect example of someone where it is extremely scripted what he does, but he totally pulls it off and has pulled it off for 40 years now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so wild when you just think about what it means to convey information like that in an entertaining way, but in an authentic way.
Yeah.
And what that job is that you guys have. So were you a writer first? Like in college and high school?
I write a lot, but I was never a professional writer.
Yeah.
But I do think, like I said, with effective communication, it does boil down to writing. Like when I was an adjunct professor or when I meet with young people or teach, it really comes down to writing.
Yeah.
Whether it's, long form, short form, they're all very different styles, and you can learn a broadcast style, and you can
it's
learn
a different
a
style to
narrative
do
style.
that, yeah.
It's a very different style. I mean, like a narrative style can start from wherever you want it to start from. It can be the moment and go backwards. It can be let me build you up to whatever you want to do. But for broadcast, it's really a sandwich. It's this is important. You need to hear it.
Yep.
This is why, it's important. And here's the statistical information to back up why I'm telling you this. And that's why I told you that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Like that. And that's rinse, repeat with every story that you tell. That's broadcast style.
Yeah.
You can't do that in a newspaper. It would make no sense if you just read it, because no one would read it that way. But when you deliver it, and that's where I think some of the art form comes into, how you deliver that is very different. Probably the same thing for comedians. Like if Chris Rock wrote a joke, and him delivering that joke would not sound like pick your other favorite comedian.
No, it has to be.
It has to be him doing it. So the way we write, like I can't write for another SportsCenter anchor, and they can't really write for me, even if we had the same idea of how we were going to deliver it and tell the information.
Right, because sometimes the information is the information.
Right.
You score here, you score here, you score here. Like, so at the end of the day, it's the delivery of the person that comes through.
Yes.
That I think is really fascinating, and where that idea of creativity comes into, like, this is how I think, this is my sort of creative genius and how I handle it versus somebody else's.
Yeah. And I think like comedy too, timing matters. Like, you could love Stuart Scott's work or not love Stuart Scott's work. It could feel contrived at times, but his timing was unbelievable.
Very good.
He was unbelievable at it. Like when he delivered a highlight, you may have liked and really connected to this lead that he wrote that was something I would never say about it, he'd have different references than I would ever have. But once he got into it and he showed it, his timing was unbelievable. So there's a lot of little aspects to it that make you good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest thing for you going from something like a sports show where it's scripted to live game calling?
Live game calling is the best to me because it's the closest thing to, like live performing you can get in our medium. And I love that. Like I describe it as this is our way of being on Broadway. And every show's different. Like there's nothing's going to, you can prepare all you want. You have no idea what's going to happen. You can sit there and come
reality TV.
It's incredible. Like you can walk in there and go, this is going to happen. This could happen. We just got to stop this. We got to stop that. And the second the guy returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown, all of that doesn't matter anymore. And you're just reacting to it, you know, and I love that. And because I didn't have a lot of experience with play-by-play, like where I really got the experience for that was SportsCenter, specifically night shows, because we'd have a rundown. At 6 o'clock. And one of my favorite former colleagues, John Anderson, who used to work there forever, he would go into these things and he would go, I don't know why we come to this. We're never going to do this in this order.
No,
it's not, sports. We have no idea what's going to happen tonight. So stop telling me the lead story is anything other than whatever crazy thing happens at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
And the best part of it was, like, you had to be on the fly. And there was every night at 11 o'clock, you'd get this rundown. It was worthless. And then immediately we'd go to a break and they would whisper in my ear, somebody's going to come out at like in 30 seconds with a shot sheet because the Mavericks Jazz game just ended with a half court shot. Right. And I didn't see a second of it.
Yeah.
And they're going to, and you're going to do it live in 10 seconds, go.
Right.
And all it just says is who, what, where.
Right.
But how you say it, is what it makes the difference coloring outside the lines.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a second of this.
So watch the monitor and
react.
Say it as you go,
And I better know who that Mavericks player is that did it, because you don't want to sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
And that to me was the basis of learning play-by-play, because I literally don't know what's going to happen play to play to play. So you have to really kind of lock into it differently than anything else. At least on that SportsCenter example, a break is coming. You take a minute or two and go, all right, let me catch my breath. Not in football. Every play could be a touchdown, an interception, a safety. Who knows? Like who knows? Go watch the highlights of the Titans-Cardinals game. You don't know what in the world is going to happen at all. So, and that's why I love it. But that's where I kind of got some of that from.
That's cool. Because remember my college days of doing newscasting, and we had a TV station on campus where we did college-run news shows and sports and all that kind of stuff. Just watching the guys on air prepare and write. Yeah. And what that's like to to channel your creativity into something that is going to be quick on air, where you have to all in a way act. So I just find that to be very fascinating. and then how that translates into, like you said, the live part of that.
It's all unnatural. Like, I'd never wear a suit, but I have to wear them on a Sports Center set. I would never sit at a desk that way ever.
Yeah.
And with all these lights on you, wearing makeup, like none of these things like feel real or authentic to me whatsoever. And then once or twice per hour, they're going to give you one 20-second moment where you're on camera, and that's the part where the writing comes through.
Yeah.
Can I do something that's memorable for 20 seconds before they turn to something else? And then when I get this highlight, can I hit it out of the park naturally without even knowing what's coming?
Right.
So there's a lot of skill sets that all kind of happen at the same time on shows like that.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love that. Let's pivot to, we talked about at the beginning, the production company you have.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, what you guys are doing with it, what your goals are with it. Like, fill me in.
Yeah. I started Empire right before the pandemic. I kind of had decided, everything's changing, obviously, in media. So, I felt like I better change with it. I'm honestly at 52, and now a kind of a dinosaur of old media. If I didn't, I would be, out of what I love, which is I love being in the media profession. And so, I felt like it was another thing that happened, really in our industry, I think everybody feels this way, is, all the fractured audiences with all the different platforms have changed all the financial dynamics of our entire industry. Yeah. And because of all of that, it's hard to find the jobs that pay well and secondarily are secure in any way.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So all of us that aren't the select few that have big primary premium positions, we all have 8 jobs now instead of 1.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happened. And so I felt like, why would I have 8 jobs with other people? Why don't I have a primary one that's mine, something I can grow? I feel like I know the subject matter. I've learned kind of stay in my lane. I know Washington, D.C. sports fans, specifically Commanders fans. So we're building shows in and around topics that I know particularly well. And it's been growing. It started just as a few podcasts. So we're more broad than that. And I've kind of learned, stay where, we really kind of belong in the areas that I know. And then we transitioned over to YouTube. And we've grown that to about 17,000 subscribers. And the views are getting up. And then the shows are kind of growing. And all of a sudden, we have a small, burgeoning media company in a space where legacy places are having trouble,
right?
With resources and finding audiences because they have overhead.
Yep.
And so, I like this space that we're in. Where's it going to go? I don't know. So I don't know.
No one does.
No one does.
I mean, we didn't know where things were going to go 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I mean, cable now is not what it used to be. And streamers were going to be a certain thing, and now they're not what we thought they were going to be.
Yep.
And now streamers are becoming their own little group. It might as well be cable again.
Yeah.
So,
I always feel like I'm always going to want to do a show.
Yeah.
So I might as well do it on my network, so that when the day comes that nobody wants me on their networks, well, here's where it is.
Well, it's funny you say that because YouTube has given people the opportunity to have their own network.
Yeah.
In a way, and to have their own audience there. It doesn't have to be big.
Yep.
To monetize it or to use it as a stepping stone to other things.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast, for instance, I don't know how many people watch it. I don't even care. But for me, it's a way to connect with, right now, DC people who are doing cool, creative things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you know what? I have people who are bi-coastal that I know from the creative industry who, if one person sees it and it sparks something in them, that's cool for me.
Yeah.
And so this is really a different outlet. But it's also, like you said, it's in addition to running a design studio and a creative studio and a production studio, that's mine.
Yeah.
And so this is a side part of that that's a lot of fun that works to, raise some sort of, idea of what it is, but that's about it. But there's no security in everything else. I know a ton of friends who have been let go by the Paramounts and the Discoveries and the ABCs of the world who are really, really talented.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, some of them are still looking for work, and
That's
it sucks.
Right. Or even if okay, so let's say, one of the local stations wants to hire me, the job role, what you'd have to do because of the resources now and the salary are a far cry from what they used to be. So you have to really think about those type of things. And so I like being my own boss. You know, I like it, on the broadcast. Yeah, I worked with a team, right? But they kind of let us, do it our way, which I appreciate. And with Empire, it's mine. So, I like that. And so we're always open to growing. And, also for me, going back to what we were talking about earlier with just like styles of communication, where I was never really good or proficient was like tweeting or
awful at it.
So I don't even do it anymore because I always feel like it doesn't, every time I read back what I wrote on it, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Like right. It's not translating the right way. And the last thing I want to do is, push send on something that I regret, or it's just taken the wrong way. So I stay away from a lot of it. Getting my show on YouTube, which really sounds like a radio show that doubles as a podcast on YouTube, is helping me understand I need to communicate a little bit differently because it's for a younger audience. What are the topics they want to hear about? And can I change my communication style, which oftentimes in the past was pretty broadcast structured and is so much looser now because that's what the audience have gotten accustomed to. Everybody has these shows. The ones that have grown in popularity are typically ones that are far more dressed down and less formulaic and certainly much more conversational.
Absolutely.
And, than what I was used to, which were kind of the rules of engagement when you have a space like this are gone.
Yeah.
So now that they're gone, I need to adjust to being someone who doesn't come off as totally buttoned up and structured. Yeah. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I used to have, when I first started this, it was over during COVID and, it was all remote. And I had a piece of paper that I would look at because I'd never done this before and I was terrified. And I just kind of got to the point where I threw it away. It's like, let's just talk and hang out and see where it goes. And that's been way more fun and rewarding than anything else because it's led to conversations where like I wouldn't have thought to go before.
I mean, it's funny, like if you watch TV now, even now, like I love SportsCenter, all those shows, everything, but they're not conversations. Like it's not a normal conversation. Like you would be watching something and we're talking about this for literally 30 seconds and then we must stop talking about this after 30 seconds. And you told it to me with sentences you would never use if we were having dinner at a bar. Like it was never, you would never speak to me that way.
No, you wouldn't.
So, I think we're actually in a better place in terms of communication. Outside of, I think it's, way too divided and everybody's kind of in their own bubbles. Like there's no seeming like town square where we could have debates, but at least everybody's there at the same time. That part, part, kind of bugs me in terms of just general audience growth. But
let's talk about that. Rick. How do you think, is that something that can be worked on? Like, are you think the cat's out of the bag, the, genie's out of the bottle, all of those things like, I don't know how you bring it back together.
The internet has changed everything.
Yeah.
Like you can go where you want to go. I think there was always, what did I see recently? Like we saw a clip from when Michael Jackson did the moonwalk for the first time. And when I was a kid, I remember this like as a cultural moment that everybody saw it. Everybody. And the next day, half the kids were wearing one glove. Everybody was trying to do it.
Yeah.
Like it just was this touch point, right? Because there were 3 channels. Everybody saw this. He pulled off, it felt like a magic trick, and it was amazing. This will never happen again.
No.
There's almost nothing like that would ever happen again where everybody's in the same place at the same time that experienced it together. Yeah. And you can have different opinions about it, but think about all the things that have gone on. The news cycles seem to move so fast that I don't know how we're ever going back to anything like that again. But it is why I do love doing live things, because I do know that there is a subset of people that are there with us experiencing it at the same time. And I think that's where sports kind of still brings people together.
I would agree with that completely. I think sports is maybe one of the only things that does that, where it's appointment viewing.
Yes.
And it attracts a wider audience than, say, the Oscars.
Yes.
By a large margin. And
I didn't even know the Emmys were on. I don't ever remember missing that as a kid. You kind of couldn't.
Yes.
So, now, because what are the Emmys or what are the Oscars when if people aren't going to the movies or they aren't watching the same shows and debating whether Friends or Seinfeld should be the comedy of the year, instead it's some obscure Apple TV show that no one's ever heard of, but is probably great. We're just not having the same conversations anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
We're also, I don't think we're having the same conversations at work because we're not at work as often.
Right.
We're not doing the water cooler moments on a Monday morning where you're like, did you see The Sopranos?
Yeah.
And those things just aren't happening the same way.
No. And also anybody who says well, we just got to get rid of phones. Good luck with that. That's the old, you want to go live in a cave?
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because you're not interacting with the world if you're going to do something like that. We're just in a new world.
Right.
And for someone who works in communication, this is what I love about sports. I do know that there's a large set of people that still care about the Commanders every Sunday, and I'm a part of that. And so we are having a conversation with each other. We can disagree with why they won or why they lost.
Yep.
We can have a real conversation about all of the items. Should this person be fired? How great is Jaden Daniels? Right. Is he this great or this great or this great? You know, we can have all of these conversations, but at least we're all having them together at the same time. Yeah. Everything else seems to be so scattered, and it's hard. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. I don't know how they interpret the world because my world was so different at their age. There's no phone, there's no internet. We all saw the moonwalk. It's just a completely different world now.
Yeah, it is. My daughter was talking to me about, she's a fourth grader. She was talking about kindergartners doing this whole 6-7 thing. And I was like, what's that? And so we looked it up and I was like, I am now dumber. I wasted a minute and a half of my life watching this how-to video about what 6-7 is. And she's like, yeah, the kindergartners are doing it. And I try to tell them to shut up.
I don't know what it is.
I do now.
I've seen what is it? Because I've seen a lot about it.
Yeah. So it was, and I may even get this wrong, but the video that I watched was, there was a rapper that did a video. He talked about 6-7 from a something in Chicago, an address, area code, whatever it was. Well, then somebody else mimicked it, 6-7, and then it just kind of took off. Or at least it's a thing to say, and I was like, I'm dumber now. And we're dumber now because I just explained this to you, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, it was funny to hear my fourth grader talk about kindergartners doing it and how she thinks it's dumb and tells them to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, it's funny too. I watch YouTube and all these videos and all these things, and I'm like, God, you guys have a tolerance for poor production value. Every time I watch these things, I'm like,
yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We could do way better. And they're like, you're wasting your money. And you're like, you're right. Nobody goes to the movies.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
What is it that Ridley Scott just said about he watches his own movies, started watching them again because what's out there now is so bad. He's like, actually, turns out I have made pretty good movies.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, wow.
This aged well.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Because what we're out there today is awful.
Low budget crap that was shot on an iPhone that passes for a movie now. Yes. I know. It's amazing.
Yeah. Don't tell Apple that because that's their whole marketing campaign now, apparently.
They have that on a T-shirt.
Yeah. Right. Right. Interesting little note here. You talked about having conversations with people, lots of people. And I had David Aldridge was on a couple weeks ago, and I asked him this kind of the same thing about being a person in front of the camera who's not a celebrity, but everybody kind of knows. Do you find there's a weird, and as I'm a total Joe Schmo, so I find this really interesting dynamic of people know you or they think they know you because you're always talking to them, but you don't have a clue who they are. So is it weird to be like, well, I'm not Brad Pitt, but I'm talking to everybody every week.
Speak for yourself.
Right. You know, I didn't say how you looked, but what is that like to be like, people think that they know you because you're sharing parts of yourself with them, with a massive audience. Like, do you find?
I think for me it's different because most people are connecting to me through the team. So, you know, when I get approached by a stranger, they want to know what's going on with the team. It is very, very rare that they're like, hey, I heard your dog's sick. You know, that's not really happening. So I think, and so I appreciate that. I like those types of interactions. So I think it's different probably for me. David's probably of a different level really because he was on national NBA telecasts, you know, I'm connected to, you know, one very specific thing. When I was on SportsCenter, it was a little bit different. We would go around, and especially if we did the show on the road, and there would be a little bit of that kind of recognition stuff. But most of the time, similarly, they don't really know a lot about you. I find it more through radio and podcasting because you really have to share a lot more about yourself. Yeah. And then when they meet you, it is, you forget you said something.
Right. Yes.
And, you know.
Like you said, dog is sick.
How'd that thing at the post office work out? Right, you're what? How'd you know about that? You know, and then.
Oh, yeah, I said that.
You weren't following me. Oh, that's right. I told that story. And so, that stuff can happen. But for me, I think, I would go with a B-level local celebrity who people want to talk to when we win games.
When you don't win games, like,
Yeah.
It's your fault somehow,
Yeah.
you know?
But I like it. I don't mind it. And,
Yeah.
you know, like my kids get a kick out of it too. Like every once in a while, if we're just out somewhere and someone's like, hey, you know, like, and they think it's funny because they can't envision the idea.
Because you're just dad.
Yeah. And I'm like, I've brought them to the games, like sit in the booth because I'm like, you have to see this because it's a cool job.
It's a cool job.
It's a cool job. I'm like, you'll never see the game the same way again if you sit in there with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool. Like, you know, I recognize it's a really cool, privileged job that I have. So I want them to see it while they're young so that when they get older, they go, my dad did that. You know, It's really cool. So whenever somebody comes up to me, they say something to me and they're surprised. I'm like, why are you surprised?
Yeah.
Don't you see?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Do they have an affinity for it?
My son loves sports, so he's into it. My daughter could care less about sports.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, she doesn't care.
Yeah, my daughter grew up, like, I've been playing sports my whole life and took her to sports games with me, like my little, like, softball games. She'll pick up a ball, like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then she'll want to go and do something else. Just didn't get the bug.
What I do love is that I think she sees, and my wife was this way too, is a very creative person. She worked in media. She's worked in interior design. She's worked in photography. She's always wants to be in some kind of visual medium in some way, right? She's very artistic. She's built her own businesses. She's almost never worked for someone. Like she's consistently built her own businesses. And I think with what I do and what she does, my daughter doesn't have to like sports, but I think we're hoping that the lesson she gets is you can follow your passions and turn them into your life. And
cool.
I'm hoping that she sees that. Like, she doesn't have to like football.
Yeah.
But I think she could see that there's an artistic value to what we do. It's not exactly what it seems. There's a tremendous amount of preparation that goes into how we go about it. It's very nuanced, more than people probably think.
Sure.
And hopefully she'll see that. And whatever her path is, like, she's huge into music. And, you know, I don't think she's going to be a performer because she doesn't really want to do that. But she loves the industry. And she can find ways to be involved in that industry. And I'm hoping that my wife and I are showing her, you can. You know, like, you can find your path in something like that.
That's cool. I love that.